Good morning, everyone. I'm doing a little something different today. We're getting away from renovations. It is November. Next week is Thanksgiving, and then just a few short weeks later is Christmas. Now, this year at Christmas, me and Jay and some of our family that could go and that wanted to go are going on a cruise the week before Christmas. We'll actually get back before Christmas Day, but the week before Christmas we're going to go on a cruise in lieu of buying gifts for each other. Now for the last 2 or 3 years I've been trying to pare down, cut down on the amount of gifts that I buy. At one time I was very materialistic in my younger years and just thought we had to just buy all these gifts and spend all this money. And in reality, Christmas has become way too commercialized and we have lost the meaning of Christmas. So for the last about 3 years, I've been cutting back. Now, I didn't do a drastic cutback at first because, you know, people get used to getting all these gifts and get used to things. But I have been cutting back slowly every year, and we started doing some homemade gifts and things a couple of years ago, and I've really liked that. Handmade gifts are fun, and it's always interesting to see what you can come up with every year. But my main thing about Christmas is just spending time with family. I want to get together with family. I want to be with family because my dad passed away a few years ago, and it just makes you think about, well, who else is going to be here next Christmas? Is everybody going to still be together? And so as I'm getting older, I find that family means a whole lot more to me than what kind of gift I can buy somebody, or even what kind of gift I get me. Now, I buy myself things that I need during the year. My husband gets a little irritated at me when he asks me for a Christmas list. I'm like, well, there's not really anything I need. And he's like, yeah, but what do you want? And I'm like, well, I pretty much buy what I want. I don't have expensive taste. I don't wear a lot of jewelry. Basically, the only jewelry I wear is my wedding rings, and if I remember to put earrings in, I will wear earrings. But I don't, every now and then I'll wear a necklace, but I don't really wear jewelry. I hardly ever wear anything on my wrist other than my watch, because I don't like anything there. I type on the keyboard a lot at work and with school, and so I'm just not there. So I'm saying all that to say I'm about to make my Christmas trash that I make every year and have made every year for I don't know how many years, like a long time. My aunt used to make it, and she taught me how to make it. And I've been making it, I'm going to say, probably 30 plus years I've made this every year. And I only make it at holiday time. And I usually wait until the Saturday after Thanksgiving to make it. But my nephew really loves it. And he and his family are coming home for Thanksgiving. They live out of state. And so I'm going to make it before Thanksgiving because they're coming home for Thanksgiving and not for Christmas. So I'm going to make my Christmas trash today, and I'm going to take you along on the journey. Now, everybody knows I'm not a professional film person, so, you know, if you're expecting professional quality videos, you're not going to get it here, but I hope you'll join me on this journey. It's a great recipe. I do have a secret to my recipe that I will not share on this video. But this trash is really good regardless of if you have my secret or not. Okay, my kids have my secret, and so they know what extra I add. But anyway, we're gonna get started. Okay, so we're going to start by making the sauce. And for doing that, we are going to need 1.5 pounds of margarine, which is 6 sticks. Now, normally when I'm cooking, I use real butter. When I make my trash, I use margarine because it has to cook, depending on your oven, for 6 to 8 hours. And if you use real butter, it tends to burn. I learned that one year. So, we're going to use margarine, and I always use the Blue Bonnet. But you can use whatever kind of margarine. I mean, you may not like Blue Bonnet. It all tastes the same to me. It's all basically what they say is basically plastic. I don't know how true that is, but I use Blue Bonnet. So I'm just going to turn my burner on about medium while I mix this. And then what you're going to need is 1.5 cups of Wesson oil. Now my recipe says Wesson oil, and that's what my aunt always used. But I use canola oil. Canola oil is just a tad bit better. Health-wise, okay? So I'm going to use 1.5 cups of canola oil. And I'll pour it in there as well. Okay. And then we're going to start putting our spices in. Okay. So the first spice I'm going to add is allspice. And I love this McCormick. Let it focus there. Ground Jamaican allspice. I don't know why, but it just seems to be a better flavor for me in my trash. I have tried in the past to use just regular old allspice, and it does fine, but to me this Jamaican allspice has a richer flavor, and it takes 3 teaspoons of it. I am almost out, and our Walmart does not carry it in this brand. And you see I'm being a little generous. I'm not getting an exact measurement. I'm always generous. But anyway, I did buy allspice, and I bought regular allspice. So if I run out, it's going to be okay. But I'll have to get online and order me some more Jamaican allspice. Now, that was allspice. Now I'm going to add 3 teaspoons of red pepper. Now, this is the red pepper that Jay and I made a few days ago. We had some fresh peppers, and it calls for 3 teaspoons, but we know that fresh red pepper can be very warm, so I wasn't as generous with that, okay, as normally I am. Now we're going to add 3 teaspoons of accent. And that's, you know, you can find it anywhere. Walmart has it. I'm going to just measure it out like this because I used this spoon in my cayenne. So we're going to do 3 teaspoons of accent. Now, those of you that cook all the time, you know that 3 teaspoons make up a tablespoon. And you might ask yourself, why I'm saying 3 teaspoons of everything? Well, that's just because that's the way my aunt wrote it. And it's the way I learned to do it. And so I've never converted it over. And so, you know, I'm not too concerned about it. Now we're going to do celery salt. No, I just got the Great Value kind. I actually am thinking about dehydrating. We're going to do 3 teaspoons of this as well, or a tablespoon. I'm actually thinking about dehydrating some celery and making my own celery salt. A friend of ours gave us some powdered celery last year, and we've used it in some recipes. But I think it would be kind of cool, because I use celery salt a good bit, and I think it would be kind of cool to use celery salt. Now, we've got the accent in, we've got the red pepper in, we've got the allspice, we've got the celery salt. Now, it calls for 1 small bottle of garlic powder. Alright, so I buy the regular size, and I just use half a bottle. So I just kind of guesstimate what my, because you can never have too much garlic, right? I just kind of guesstimate what my small bottle would be. Those small bottles are expensive, and you can usually only get them in the name brand. And honestly, your off-brand Great Value spice from Walmart is fine. I mean, most of the spices, other than the allspice, which theirs is fine, but alright, so I'm going to put about half of a bottle because it calls for a small bottle. That ought to do it. Okay. And then the last thing that goes in that you're going to see is Worcestershire sauce. Now, 7 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Now, I am generous with this as well. Now, you can use Lynn Perrins, or you can use, I got to open a new bottle, but that's okay. That's just a little extra. So that's 1 in there. You can use French's. You can use Great Value, Best Choice, or whatever. Okay. So it doesn't matter what kind of Worcestershire sauce you use. I have used it all and haven't really noticed a difference. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you can see I'm spilling over, and that's okay because I love this flavor in here. You can follow the recipe directly and then tweak it each time as you like it. So we've got all the ingredients in here, and I've got the stove on, and I got the oven preheating to 225. Yes, 225, you heard that right. You have to cook this slowly and for several hours, because if you try to cook it too fast, it's not going to work for you. Okay, so I'm going to stir all these spices up. And we're going to let all that melt. And then I'm going to show you what to do with it. Okay, so while we're waiting on the sauce to melt, I'm just going to take you through and show you what I use in my trash. Now, my daughter has adjusted her recipe over the years to put things in there like Cheez-Its and different things like that. So if you have something that's a favorite snack of yours, by all means, try it in there and see if you like it. Now, I always get these ultra thin salty pretzels. And I get the ultra thin because they soak up the flavor of the juice better as they're cooking. Okay, you can use the thicker ones. You can use the big ones that, you know, the typical pretzel shape, but I like the little sticks. I've got pecans. You don't have to put nuts in yours, but I've got pecans that the neighbor gave us from their pecan trees last year. I just took them out of the freezer, but they're vacuum sealed. I buy the mixed nuts at the Dollar General, okay? Just because I usually put 1 can per pan, or at least 3/4 of a can per pan. And they're a really good price, and they're good nuts, okay? And so they only have 50% peanuts. So that's a good thing. You can get the big thing of mixed nuts at Sam's. I forget how much it is, but I have calculated the price, and it's cheaper for me to go this route. And there's a Dollar General a mile up the road. Bugles, you cannot have trash without Bugles. These are excellent and soak up the flavor. My middle daughter always asks me to make a batch of just Bugles, but she's coming to make her own trash this year. So she can do her Bugle thing. Now I use Wheat Chex, which were very hard to find this year, by the way. A lot of places didn't have them. Kix, I had to get the family size. I don't use a family size, and this will probably go bad, or I might share it with my daughter if she wants to make another batch. But this is the only size box I could find, and I went to 3 different grocery stores. I use Corn Chex. I use the Great Value Tostios, or you can use Cheerios. It's about $2 difference in the box, so it makes a difference. And then the Rice Chex, okay? But like I said, you can put anything in your trash that you want. Okay, that's up to you. And then another thing I do when I'm drying my trash, and I'll show you this in the video later on, is I use paper sacks. It's hard to find paper sacks anymore, and the ones you do find now are the shorter ones. Even at Brookshire's, they have the shorter ones if they have any. And so I just ordered a pack from Amazon of paper sacks, because I use them every year, and paper sacks, they're not going to go bad. So I'll have some for years to come. I'll probably be dead before I use them all, but that's okay. So I'm going to let this finish melting, and then I'll bring you back and show you what kind of pans I use and how to mix it all together. Okay, so we're going to start putting things in the pans. And what I just get these little rectangular baker pans. You can get them from anywhere, but I get mine at the Dollar Tree because they're cheaper. It's like $1.25 for each. And this is what I use. And that way, when you're done, you can just throw them away. Or you can wash them and reuse them, whatever. Now, I've got... I'm going to try to get 6 pans going today. But what I do first is I add my cereal. So we're going to... And I used to put it all in a paper sack and mix it all together, but I've done it so long, I just kind of pour a little bit in the pan and then mix it up. Now it doesn't look like a whole lot, but you want to be careful because you don't want to get your pans too full, but you want a little variety of everything, okay? Now, I estimate that it costs, by the time you buy everything, if you're making it for the first time, if you don't have any of the spices, if you don't have the cereals, the nuts, any of that, I estimate, and if you're going to buy it all, it's going to cost you around $80 to $100 to make. Okay? We're going to put a few little Corn Chex in there. We're going to put some Cheerios. Pour a few Cheerios in. We're going to do some rice checks. You remember we did the corn? Going to do a few rice checks. My favorite of the checks is the wheat. They soak up the flavor really well. They're really good. Okay. And then once we get the cereal in, I go ahead and give it a little stir. Don't worry, I washed my hands. Now I'm going to put Bugles in. Okay. Heavy on the Bugles for our family. Like I said, my kids really like the Bugles. And my grandson will pick them out. And then I'm going to put some pretzels in here. Okay, and we're going to assess how much we have in the pan. Okay, so my pans look pretty good. Now I'm going to add some pecans. I'm going to add about a cup per pan. We put these up in 2-cup bags. Okay, so I'm going to add a cup per pan. I'm going to add some mixed nuts. I think that's about enough. All right. And give that another little toss, and then we're going to put our sauce on. Now I'm just going to show you with one pan how I put the sauce on. Now I've given this recipe to other family members and to friends, and then they always come back, well, mine didn't taste like yours. Mine, and I try to explain how to do this, but then I don't know if, I think you just have to see me do it, okay? So what you do is every time you get a ladle of juice, because the seasoning will settle, you want to stir and dip so that you have plenty of seasoning. And what I do is just pour seasoning on. Now, you don't want to get it too heavy, because if you get it too heavy, your trash is going to be soggy. Okay? But you want to make sure that every piece is coated. Okay? So I go down like this for my first round. Notice how I stir it every time. Then I'm going to go around the corners. Then I'm going to give it a good stir and see how my coverage is. Because, like I said, you don't want too much. But you don't want to go with too little either, because then your flavor is not going to be there. Now I'm just going to stir. I'm sorry if this is loud. You want to stir it and make sure that all the dry pieces are mixed in. You want to be careful with your Bugles because they're easy to break. But when you see those dry corners, pull them in, and you'll see little places on the bottom of the pan where you got a little extra juice. Pull those dry pieces into those little crevices, okay? One thing is you just want to get a good dampness to your trash. Now, as it cooks, it's going to crisp back up, as long as you don't get too much. Okay, let me just show you this. You see there's a little bit on the bottom, but it's not like it's pooling, okay? You can see it. And I'm going to tell you, again, it's okay to have a little bit on the bottom because you're going to stir this every 2 hours while it's in the stove, okay? You're going to put it in on the 225 and you're going to set your timer. And at 2 hours, you're going to stir it. And so all that on the bottom is eventually going to dry up and soak into your mix. Now, I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but it's very well mixed. Each piece has seasoning on it, okay? So, I'm going to adjust the camera just a little bit. One thing that I do, and that my aunt always did, is take a little of the accent. You know, you added 3 teaspoons. And take a little on the little shaker side, not the side with the big holes, but on the little shaker side. And just kind of sprinkle some on top every time you stir, just like that, just a little bit. And that helps bring out the flavor, or so I'm told. It's supposed to wake up the flavor in the food, okay? Now we're going to put a pan in the oven. Now I cooked here last year, and I can't remember, but I think only 2 pans are going to fit. Need to move this other rack down. Don't look at my oven. Okay, I am going to clean it before next week, but it really doesn't do any good to clean it until after the trash is cooked because you're going to drop it all in here. Okay, so I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to set my timer for 2 hours. And in 2 hours, I'll stir. I'm going to put another pan in there on the bottom shelf. And every time I stir, I'm going to stir them, and then I'm going to swap pans. The pan that's on the top shelf is going to the bottom. The pan on the bottom is going to the top. And that so that one on the bottom doesn't burn. Okay, so you swap them out. And I'm going to do the same thing in my top oven. Okay, I've been stirring every 2 hours. And it's starting to look really good. I switched shelves. Believe it or not, these pans don't get real hot, even though everything's cooking. I'm going to bring you over here and show you the top oven and how good they're looking. I'm going to stir them, and then they got 2 hours to go, and then I'll show you when I take them up. Okay, so I missed getting that out of the oven for y'all, but I'm going to show you the next 2 pans I got on my computer. I had a virus, and so now I was just trying to get it out of the oven so it wouldn't burn. But I put it in these paper sacks, and then I kind of shuffle it down to where it's on the side, and I'm going to flip it here in a minute. And that helps to get any excess oil or whatever off. And then once it cools, I'll put it in jars or containers to keep it fresh. I just put paper towels in the bottom of my sacks. toasting it to make sure it's crunchy is the funnest part. It's like, are you done? Probably one of those double packs. That should be ripening. Whatever, it don't matter to me. What do you mean by paper? I mean, I'm okay with that. It's my second choice, but yeah. I usually buy the little to-go cups. Okay, so we've got most of the trash pulled up and put in these. I bought this cute little snowman jar at Hobby Lobby like 3 years ago. And so I use them for my trash. I got a couple of them. And then I've got this one. These two are also full. I've got this one with a little in it. And then I've got my last bag here still cooling. This was one that was a little bit thicker than my others, but we've got it all done. I hope that for those of you that needed a little clarity on my recipe and how exactly to do it, I hope this helped. And for those of you that want to try it, again, I'm not a professional filmer, so I know it's not the greatest video in the world, but you know what, it is what it is. So it's been a long day. It's, as you can see, the windows over there, it's already getting dark outside. But I'm almost done. So just keep in mind that my oven that I have here takes 6 hours. It used to take me 8 hours when I lived in North Carolina in the mountains. I guess because of the altitude, I'm not sure, but it just took a little bit longer for it to crisp back up. And then when I lived over in the town an hour away from here, it took about 6 to 7 hours in my oven there. So depending on your oven, and the recipe says 250, but I use 225 here because I discovered the first time I made it here that 250 was too hot for these ovens. So just kind of go by how you gauge your oven to know if you've got it on the right temperature or not. But if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I plan to be putting out some more renovation videos here in a week or two. And I hope that everything goes well. See you later.